Hello, my name is Mara Linsky-Deegan, and I am the Associate Registrar and Curator here at the Charles H. McNider Art Museum in Mason City, Iowa. And today we're going to talk a little bit about artists who are not what we would call traditional mainstream artists. They're artists that sometimes are called outsider artists, or just artists, like I said, who are outside of the mainstream. We're going to start off really quickly talking about artists who are in the mainstream, and that's a lot of the artists that are in our collection. Right now I'm standing in front of some of our Grant Wood pieces, and Grant Wood is a great example of an artist who was definitely in the art community. He wanted to be an artist from a young age. He went to school to be an artist. He was actually in the military and used his art skills there, which I always think is pretty cool. He was a camouflage painter, which means he painted camouflage on vehicles and things for the Army. And then when he retired from that, he was a school teacher, but he always continued to create his art, and really later in his life, when he was well established, that's what he did for a living. That's what he wanted to do. He really focused on it. So a couple of the pieces we're going to be talking about in just a minute are artists who did not maybe have that same career goal or same focus that Grant Wood did, but are still artists in their own right. They're just artists that maybe went about it just a little bit differently than Grant Wood did. First, we're going to talk just briefly about Grandma Moses. Now, I'm not going to go into a whole explanation about Grandma Moses, and the reason is that somebody already did that. And so if you go to our website, which is McNiderArt.org, that's MACNIDER.org, you can go to the McNider Art at Home tab at the top, and if you click on that, you can get to our art talks. And one of our art talks that has already been recorded is all about Grandma Moses. It's really interesting. You can learn all about her. And one of the things you'll learn is that she was not what we would call a traditional artist. She did not necessarily go to school at a young age and think, I'm going to be an artist and that's what my career path is going to be. She actually did a lot of other things with her life, and always loved art and loved to create art pieces. But she really didn't make it a career until she was in her 70s, which I think is really cool that she found something she loved, she stuck with it, and she made a career out of it later in her life, which I think is cool. And so she would be one that we would consider not necessarily an outsider artist, but a non-traditional artist. And we're going to talk just a little bit about this piece right here called Going Home from Church. So I'm going to get out of the way so you guys can take a closer look. So while you're looking at this piece, I want you to think about some questions that I'm going to ask you. The first question is, does this painting to you look more two-dimensional or three-dimensional? And if you say two-dimensional, or if you say three-dimensional, why does it look more one than the other? I want you to think about that one. And another question for you is, if you could change something in this painting, what would you change and why? And my last question about this piece right here is, does this look like a painting that was done by somebody who went to art school? Why would you say yes or no? This is a piece by Shelby Ratliff. We also have a video on him and his artwork, which is in that same area that the Grandma Moses video is. So if you are on our website, you can view all kinds of different videos, but he is definitely one as well, where we talk about another piece that he has that's in our collection. But right now we're going to talk about, really briefly, this piece. He is another artist that had a completely different career. He actually worked for the USDA being a meat inspector for many years, but he, in his retirement, found a love of art, and he actually is famous around here for saying that he never took an art class. He actually taught himself how to paint using books and just trial and error, which I think is very interesting. So it's also interesting to look at his pieces and compare them to somebody who maybe did go to art school. So if you look at this piece right here and then compare it to the piece that's right next to it, There are some similarities with the frame and the size of the piece, but you can also see some differences. So I want you to take a look really quickly at these two pieces here and tell me which one do you think looks more like somebody who maybe went to art school. Look at this painting by Shelby Ratliff. Does it look like other paintings that you've seen before when you've gone to museums or even looked at our art talks? How is it different from other things, other paintings, and how is it the same? And then I have another question is, have you ever painted or drawn a landscape? If you have, what was the hardest part to paint or draw? And why was it hard to paint or draw that specific thing? Also, if you could paint a landscape of anywhere, any place, what would you paint it of? And why did you choose that place to paint?